I move we accept the agenda as printed.
Support.
Motion been made and supported that we go with this agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Everybody got a copy of the minutes?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes as printed.
Support.
Motion been made and supported that we accept the minutes from August 4th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The treasurer's report.
I think it's pretty normal.
Move we accept the treasurer's report as printed.
Motion been made and supported. We accept the treasurer's report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The bills. You haven't got any more bills from road commission?
They put chloride on last week.
Do we get full bill and everything?
Yeah,
I'll make a,
I just got the phone bill today.
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills as printed.
Support.
Motion been made and supported that we pay the bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Donna doesn't have anything under old business on the agenda. Is there anything you guys wanna bring up from before? Okay. Under new business, Ron Reddick, our attorney, suggested that we hire Greg Ransford from Fresh Coast Planning to help us come up with a new wind ordinance. And these guys can help us with other ordinance too, as it goes down the line. This is Ron's suggestion. They actually sit on a planning commission board with this guy once before. This company's got over 40 years of collective experience developing and planning ordinance and zoning, etc.
Don't know yet. Or everything.
Well, yeah, basically what we're looking for a new planning guy. Tim Johnson had been our planning guy for several years, and he either retired or got tired of all the rhetoric, one or the other, but he's all done. He doesn't want anything to do with this stuff anymore, so we're looking for a new one, and we took a couple suggestions from our attorney. He did suggest a gentleman from the Spicer Company, but that guy works out of Saginaw, and he wouldn't be able to come to the meetings. This Greg Ransford had agreed to come to all the planning commission meetings. Ron would like us to run this through so that he can get started at the next planning commission meeting, which is September 29th, Jack? Okay, you guys got any thoughts on this?
I think it sounds like a good fit.
He does, we got other townships on here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 other townships that he works for, mostly on the west side of the state.
Move we have Fresh Coast Planning do our help write our zoning or our ordinances.
Support.
Okay, motion made and supported that we hire Fresh Coast Planning to be our new planning guy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. The next thing on the agenda under, well, new business, and I promised Andrea that I'd let her go first, but I got started here, Andrea, so this isn't gonna take very long.
Okay.
We'll do the next one on here. Ron, we asked Ron to help us hire a qualified acoustic consultant. The original one he had talked to, they're working for Apex, so it's kind of a conflict. A guy named Terry Stanley, he has 27 years as owner of DSA Acoustical Engineer Incorporated. He has actually worked with the Spicer Group on a wind turbine project in Michigan. He works from a regulatory background. His principal focus has been on drafting wind farm regulations for state agencies. Therefore, where he is not aligned with the wind industry, he helps regulate them. Ron's suggestion is that we hire this guy and help us with the sound problems of the wind ordinance.
I'll make a motion that we
Excuse
hire.
me, we also have a acoustic person that we would like you guys to consider. I'll pass
Okay.
it out to you. You might wanna take a look at this gentleman also before you, go ahead and start putting things into motion.
Public comment right now?
No, it's not, but it's information. They have information. Thank you, they're gonna go.
Okay. We don't have to vote on this right now. If you guys wanna take a look at this and compare the two of them, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I wanna
So,
Table it.
wanna table this one on the acoustics for now.
Yep. I move we table the, hiring of a qualified acoustics consultant.
Second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second that we'll table this and we'll look at this one, Melissa. Before I do too much more, Andrea,
Thank you, I appreciate it. We will try not to take too much of your time, but we have a big audience here. Our message is we want to get it out to as many people as we can. So my name's Andrea Krause. I'm the Montcalm County Prosecutor. With me today is Lori Kirchhoff. She is the Executive Director of the Ionia Montcalm Child Advocacy Center. It's our child advocacy center where we, it's at the border of Ionia Montcalm. It's at the H.O. Steel building, if you're familiar with that area, right off of M66. Basically, what we do there is, how do I want to put this? Way back about 2014, and I don't want to belabor because I know we did give our presentation a few years ago, but some things have changed, a little update, I guess. We saw a need that we needed to streamline our child's sexual abuse cases, physical abuse, human trafficking, that kind of thing. That kids were having to tell their story too many times to too many people, and it just kept re-victimizing them. So a group of us got together, and we weren't the first to do this. There had been other child advocacy centers in the state, so we didn't reinvent the wheel, but we wanted to have one in our county and Ionia. We actually shared Ionia Montcalm, where we could have a place for the kids to come and tell their story one time. We have a forensic interviewer who is specially trained in how to interview these types of kids in these types of cases. We have collaboration with police agencies, Department of Health and Human Services. We have DeVos Children's Hospital as a partner. All the sheriff's departments, mental health. All of us have kind of gotten together and collaborated to basically lessen the trauma that these kids go through when they have undergone or been a victim of sexual assault. And so they come to the Child Advocacy Center, they're interviewed, it's video recorded so that others can look at it later, like myself, because I'm not present at the interview, and it's very helpful to be able to see, the interview itself. But basically, we wanted a more consistent and appropriate response to child sexual abuse cases, serious physical assault, and human trafficking. And so the main idea behind the CAC is to interview the child one time in a safe and friendly environment. And I wish we could show pictures because our Child Advocacy Center has, happy murals on the walls. It's a underwater like seascape. We just had a new one painted recently. Lori's going to talk a little bit more about the center itself because in the last couple of years, when we first presented, we had started out as a 2-room operation in the right door, the Ionia right door from the mental health building in Belding off of 91. We graduated to the H.O. Steel building and took half of that building, and now we're in the entire H.O. Steel building. We have taken over the entire building except for the I Am Kids third meal. We have added staff. We were only 4 people. Paid employees, now we're 7, and all of these positions are grant funded. So we had to go through a big accreditation process way back in 2017, I think it was, and I think our accreditation is coming up for renewal this year, so we have to do it again. But because of that accreditation, we're able to get grant funding through VOCA. which helps pay for all of this stuff so we can provide free services to the children and their families. So that is very, very important, that we provide, a safe environment and free services. But of course, that all takes money, not only the VOCA money, but we also have to have a 20% match for the grants that we get. So we do have to raise money on our own, hence we do a lot of fundraisers, and Lori's going to talk a little bit about those as well. So prior to 2017, we were an all-volunteer operation. Once we got accredited, we could get the VOCA money, the grant money, and then hire the 7 full-time employees. So I'm going to let Lori talk a little bit about the center itself and kind of the process that goes on within the center.
Thank you, Andrea. And I apologize. Boy, when we usually go to these meetings, there's usually like 5 to 10 people max. So I did not have enough brochures to hand out to everybody. So I'm so sorry. We do have a website. It's www.imsafecac.org. And so you can get all the information that's on those pamphlets on that website. We also have a Facebook page. I'm Safe CAC is our Facebook page, and that's where you can get additional information on all our fundraisers. As Andrea said, kids that come to us are between the ages of 2 to 17. They are ones that have to have made a report of sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, and or human trafficking. And they have to either reside in Ionia or Montcalm County, or the incident that happened to them took place in those counties. Sometimes we will have what's called a courtesy interview that we will do for people. And that's, for instance, we had a case with a family who had come up from Florida, and that family who was visiting up here in Florida had a child disclose that their father had been sexually abusing them. And so we didn't want to send that family back to Florida, not knowing what was happening. So the authorities in Florida contacted our CAC and said, hey, this family's in your county right now. Is there any way you can do an interview with those children to see what's happened? And so we said, absolutely, we'll do that for you. And then we have our local law enforcement come to help us with that. So what happens is if someone's at school or to their neighbor or outside somewhere and they make a report of sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, or human trafficking, what happens is a referral is sent over to our center from law enforcement and CPS. And so they will then set up an appointment to bring that child to us. We have an employee who's specifically trained in forensic interviewing process. That means they know how to talk to kids a special way so that they're not soliciting information that they don't want, but that they're doing open-ended questions to make a child feel comfortable. So hopefully if something is happening to them, they'll have the ability to disclose at that time. So they come to our center, they're greeted by my friendly staff and our lovely waiting room area. It's set up with lots of toys, and as Andrea said, it has murals to make them feel comfortable. We have a new dog, a canine advocate that works at our center, Alfred, who was career changed, is not flunked out, career changed, because when he went through his final stages with the leader dog of the blind, he liked to pull a little too much when he saw other dogs. So they decided that wouldn't be good for him to do that. They put him through testing and found that he was a good citizen, worked well with children, and so he came to our center. So he greets the children now, and they love that they get to see this beautiful yellow lab there at our center who sits with them, and they get to pet him until it's their turn to go back and tell their story. When they come to our center, the family goes through an intake process with our family advocate. She talks to them about what's going to happen at the center and after, and then when they're done, the child goes back for that interview. The interview is done in a special room that is set up to be child-friendly, but it also has a closed-circuit TV so that law enforcement can watch the interview from another room, as well as CPS. So the child gets to tell their story. It's one time. It's recorded. It's done so with the opportunity for CPS and law enforcement to give any kind of input, because the interviewer wears what's called a bug in the ear so that if they have questions, they can ask. But so it's not traumatic to that child. They're not seeing law enforcement and CPS there at the time. After that interview, law enforcement, CPS, if the prosecutor's there, whoever's involved in that case meets, they discuss what's the next steps for that child. If they disclosed any kind of skin-to-skin contact, that child is referred to Helen DeVos Children's Hospital for a special exam. Obviously, if there's any kind of penetration, we want to make sure they're getting medical services. We also have on-site mental health services, so if the child needs counseling, then we hook them up at that time and refer them. If that child has any crisis intervention needs, for instance, if they're cutting or something like that, we're able to have a counselor meet with them on the spot and go through that with them and talk to them about safety. And then we also then have what's called a case review once a month. So after we get the child all the services they need, get them going towards those counseling and medical, once a month we come back and law enforcement, CPS, prosecutors, everybody involved with our CAC, our multidisciplinary team, meet, and we discuss that case from the beginning to the end. The idea is we don't want any kids falling through the cracks. I used to be a chief assistant prosecutor of Ionia County prior to becoming the executive director. I was there 14 years, and I saw a lot of kiddos who were coming up who were getting missed and falling through the cracks. They weren't getting those interviews they needed with properly trained officers. They weren't getting the medical services. They weren't getting mental health services. And by the time they came to my office, they were cutting. They were unable to testify. We couldn't go forward and get them justice because they never got the services they need. So this CAC changes that. Instead of us taking the child to all these different places to be interviewed multiple times, they get to come to one place. It's friendly, and now it's all surrounding them. And so everybody comes to them instead of us shifting the child all around. So it's really important that we've changed our whole focus on these cases to what's the best interest of the child. And so in doing so, as Andrea said, we do get a nice grant, and we're close to our budgets just reaching this year $500,000. We get $411,000 from a federal grant that pays for our employees, pays for a lot of the services and centers, but every grant comes with strings attached to it, and our string is we have to come up with 20% to match our grant. So we do fundraisers to try to raise that 20% every year. We have a reverse raffle that we do in February. We have a golf that we just did, a golf outing at Brookside Golf in August. We also take donations online, and we go and speak at townships, and we ask townships to help out if they can. Each child, for them to get services free of charge, is $1,250. That gets them the interview, it gets them counseling services, all that they need from the beginning to the end. It gets them medical, it helps them all the way for anything they need, like with the housing needs, we help get them resources for that. And then our victims advocates also go with them to court. We help them if they don't have money to pay for their food for court while they're waiting, or rides and transportation. So we have a lot of services we offer them. And so all those cost money though, and so we ask if you see any of our fundraisers out that you please take the time to participate, get involved, help us out with fundraising, or if you want to come to a golf event or a reverse raffle, go to our website, go to our Facebook page, we have all the information there. Since we opened our doors in 2015, we have forensically interviewed 1,689 children in Ionia-Montcalm. It's a lot of kiddos. And we're not even on the tip of it at this point, okay? Because we're still getting our word out on what we do, and we all know most cases aren't reported. So 1,689 is a lot of kids that we've seen for those two counties, and it's pretty split as far as the stats go, but we want to reach more. We just started a brand new prevention program. It's called Kids Have Rights. It's going to go into Ionia and Montcalm County. It's K through 4th grade. And again, it's talking about body safety to all our kids. It explains about their body parts, they have rights to it, and what happens if someone touches them. Who do they tell? Who's their safe adult? So that's our newest program that's out, that's going into the schools. So we ask that if you can help at all with that, we would love for you to help participate and get the word out about what we do. If you hear about kiddos in your county, because it's in every county, every township has it that they're dealing with. So if you hear about someone who's going to I'm Safe, now you know what it's about. You can say, hey, that's a great place to go to. I saw the director, I saw Andrea, we know what's going on, and you can put them at ease a little bit. So that's really all I have, unless anybody has questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a question.
Yes.
Thank you for doing this. It's very well needed. Many kids fall through the cracks. The one interview, unfortunately, I do know more than one child who has made up stories. Is your forensic person able to, the one interview thing scares me as far as,
Sure.
false. Do you have more to go on with that, or?
We do. First of all, they're only coming to the center if they've made an initial disclosure. So obviously they've told someone that something's happened. Okay, false reporting is less than 1% of the cases that you're dealing with. So it's not common. Kids having to go through a system, tell the story what's happened, that's not the last step. They obviously are now going through a criminal justice process that they have to go to. They're going to have to go still to court if it goes to court. Probate's still happening if it's a family member. They are really involved. They have to go to medical still and talk to people. So this is not fun for kids to go through this process. So we're going to be able to weed out, and we have other things we're looking at other than just that statement
I mean, like
for
a
the
person
case.
is not like
Well,
arrested.
No.
No.
I mean, plus, the police are still doing a complete investigation, so while the child makes an allegation, the police are still gonna go out and investigate, talk to other people to make sure, you know, that, yeah, I mean, obviously, we wanna have, the best evidence to put forward, so that means it's a wide investigation to make sure we have covered all our bases. And, you know, if they've made a disclosure and somehow it doesn't pan out, you know, we get to the bottom. But as Lori said, that is such a small percentage of actual cases.
And one more question.
Well, and let me just add to that. After they're done with the interview, as Andrea said, the team is meeting to take their next steps. And I didn't talk about that, but the next steps are, if there were witnesses, they're interviewing them. If there's semen, let's say, on a bed, they got to go out and do a search warrant and get that. They're going to gather the evidence based on that statement to see if that statement actually pans out to what's happened. So that is all gone through and vetted through that investigation process. So.
And then my other question is, on the human trafficking, like, if you suspect that going on, do you call you or call authorities?
You're going to call law
Law
enforcement.
enforcement, okay. Yep, law enforcement's your first call if you suspect child abuse or any of those things that we covered, yeah.
And DHS, obviously, you want to call any suspected child abuse. Never be afraid to call in child abuse. If you suspect anything, go with your gut and call. We had a case that a child had disclosed at school that mom's boyfriend had been perping on her at home. And so we immediately had that child brought over from school with her sister so that we could interview them. We went through that interview process and we learned that not only was mom's boyfriend perpetrating on them, but mom was in fact selling those children out for sex to other people. So they were being human trafficked. So you never know what's going to come out when people are in the room with the kids and that. And it was a much bigger picture that did get prosecuted. And so there's human trafficking happening in our neighborhoods that we don't even know about. It doesn't have to be like you think about the big stings in Grand Rapids or Detroit. It can be a mother who's selling their child. There's all kinds of things that happen that we don't want to believe that are happening and are. So if you ever have a gut feeling, please, please, please report it. And if a child discloses to you, please believe them, okay? So I know that's the next thing is everybody's always skeptical of a child when they're actually making their final statement, you know, and they're finally coming out and they're telling you this story. This is so important. Please believe them, okay? There is 1%, less than 1% that actually have false statements. And so you have to think about those other kids and they need that support. They need people to be there with them and for them if they finally make you as the safe person to disclose. Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
Okay. Next. You want to take over, Rhonda?
Well, we had, Benny Blanzy come and do a quote for us for, installing a wireless deadbolt. So that, people who rent the hall don't have to wait for someone to show up. They get a code, and every single person that comes to use that door has their own code. They can.
You can change the code.
Right, yeah, they can let themselves in, do what they have to do.
What about those doors?
It can't be on that door or that door, it has to be on this one only, because it won't work the other doors for some reason.
Really, that's the only door that you put it on?
Yeah,
Because of the
But I
way
think-
those go.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
That
then
one
we
has
lock.
the latch
Okay.
that goes down.
Alright,
but they can let themselves in over here and then unlock that
Unlock.
door, yeah,
okay.
so.
It works good at the orchard. You can literally email or text or email somebody a code that says, this is your code and this code is good from this time to this time, and then they can't use the code. So it'll help it when people like have to go home and like they set up for their party and then they need to go home and change their clothes or something like that.
Or, you know, if somebody forgets that they're down here waiting to be let in,
Yeah.
which we've done,
Yeah.
I admit it.
That's fine.
So, anyway, that was his quote, the total for the whole thing was $715.
I got no problem with it.
Somebody want to make a motion? Betty's did a lot of good stuff for us.
I'll make a motion that we put a deadbolt on that door with
been made and supported, we put a lock on this back door. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Okay, received an email from, the state, it's kind of an elections type thing, but they were talking about, different things that they, were doing. And one of the things was, setting up COVID-19 vaccination clinics in townships, and that was a question as to, is that something that you would wanna do?
I mean, you can go down to the college and get it,
Right.
Or in Stanton.
You can get it at health.
health department too, so. I don't
Makes no
see-
difference to me.
I don't
Just
see any,
passing it
I don't
on.
see any need for it. I mean, you can go anywhere and get a COVID shot.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing is the renewal of the insurance coverage.
Same company, same deal.
Yeah, I guess I forgot to put it in here, but yeah, same company, same deal. It was like, I don't know, I wanna say like $200 more than last year, but that's not bad considering.
Yeah.
Pretty normal.
Yeah,
That's the additional $34 for terrorism.
that's the next thing. We never get the terrorism coverage, just because we've always felt like it's Douglas Township, what can happen here? But my suggestion is,
What does that cover?
well, basically what it says, any act of terrorism on the hall property.
What about your computer?
Yeah, anything that belongs to the township.
I mean, if your computers get hacked, is that considered terrorism then, or what?
It depends on how the police look at it. So, I mean, if your computer can get hacked by anybody that doesn't necessarily make terrorism, so. I mean, for $34 extra, I don't think that's,
Okay, I move we, pay the extra $34 for the terrorism coverage.
Support.
Okay, motion made and supported that we add $34 for terrorism coverage on our insurance policy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
alright.
Do you have anything else, Rhonda?
I just wanted to let everybody know that we did get another FOIA request, this one from True North Law out of, where was it, St. Louis, Missouri, I think it was. Yeah, asking for election, mostly it was like
Mostly for the election?
election stuff.
Oh.
Like they wanna know for the election periods 2016, 18, and 20, would provide the following information: the total registered voters or electors in the election, jurisdiction on the date of the respective general and primary elections, and then, there's other things that are similar to that. I had Ron look at it, and most of it doesn't apply to us, but there are a couple of things that do. So, just letting you know,
You got it covered?
I got it covered.
All right.
Okay. Do you have anything, Amy?
Taxes are due September 14th, so I'll be here all day that
You have anything, Ben?
You look at me when taxes are due.
Tom, you have anything?
No.
Okay. We're gonna go on to public comments now. I think we got all business taken care of. The only thing, yeah, you're on here, Laura. I'll get to that in just a minute. The only thing I wanted to bring up was, we're gonna give everybody 3 minutes. When the 3 minutes is up, we're done. And I wanted to bring up another thing too. Apparently Lake Stanton had an association meeting or something the other day, and some lady stood up and is accusing us of signing up our farm for one of these wind leases. And I don't know where all this stuff comes from, but that's absolutely false. There's a lot of BS that goes along with a lot of this stuff. We did not sign up our farm. We don't have intentions to do it right now. Maybe down the road, you never know. Nobody on this board or on the planning commission has signed a lease with Apex, period. And if they, I don't appreciate the rumors, cause it's pure garbage. We never even seen a copy of the lease. So whoever's spreading that, I would appreciate it if they would stop. I don't know who it is, but we just heard that. We had people that we know that were at the Lake Stand Association meeting, so. But other than that, Laura was on the agenda. You wanna go first, Laura? And we're gonna limit yours to 3 minutes too. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Years ago, when the government mandated that lead was too dangerous an element to be used in gasoline, Big Oil was tasked with finding a substitute to pep up the gas. The chemical selected, whose name I've forgotten, did the trick, but there was a caveat that Big Oil did not tell us about. The chemical was unstable and it would readily migrate. It did just that, escaping from the underground tanks at the Clifford Lake store and contaminating the water table in the field directly across from the store. The state subsequently monitored some 50 test wells in our field. The testing went on for years till the state ran out of money to conduct the tests, and we were prevented from installing irrigation at that time. The contamination spread deeper and wider by the year, and we don't really know what it did after that because the testing was done. But the government was very compassionate about cleaning up the store. Later went the extra mile and cleaned up truck bodies and semi-trailers at 2 other sites in the Stanton area, both of whom were made by the property owners. However, when I asked one of the governmental representatives anything could be done to help our field, I was told, this is a direct quote, we're not going to do anything to enhance the value of your property. Now, Larry and I didn't think then, we still don't think that it was fair to make the offenders whole and leave the victims to a twist in the wind. Since we were and are indirectly victims of big business, we're thankful that oversight is provided when a corporation wants to introduce a new project. The wind project being currently proposed by Apex has energized the townships when it comes to when it proposes to locate turbines. Not since the introduction of marijuana as a subject has so much interest been shown in township meeting attendance. Democracy is the best political system yet to come on the scene, but it can be a little messy at times. We neighbors who disagree on the subject of whether or not turbines are appropriate often forget that we are disagreeing on an issue and not grading each other's worth as human beings. Let's not try to blame Apex for this. This is totally on us. Sufficient time has been allotted to show that the principal objection to the turbines that they are not a threat to health. I mean, they're saying that it is a threat to health, safety, and welfare, but reliable science has discounted this and shown it to be untrue. Dr. Jeffrey Ellenbogen, a globally recognized expert who painstakingly studied the effects of turbines on health, concluded that you do not present a problem. The exception is that some people get sick when they even think about turbines, and those of us who get sick